Welcome to class. Okay, so as an eighth grader, you're starting to ask the bigger questions, right? You're figuring out how this whole world actually works. Well, in today's lesson, we're diving straight into Romans chapter 3 to explore one of the absolute most profound truths about human nature. We're talking about righteousness through faith. Now, I know righteousness sounds like one of those huge, intimidating church words, but stick with me because by the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly why this is literally the greatest news you could ever hear. Let's get into it. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever tried to earn something you could just never afford? Like, picture this. You're walking past a real estate office and you see a listing for your own private island with a billion-dollar mansion right in the middle of it. It's totally perfect. You want it. So you walk in, you march right up to the front desk, reach into your pocket, and proudly drop 3 pennies, a little bit of pocket lint, and maybe an old stick of gum right there on the counter. What's that real estate agent going to say? I mean, they'd probably just laugh, right? The price of that island is astronomically high, and what you've got in your pocket, it's just so incredibly far from what's required. You could save your allowance for a million lifetimes and still never afford it. Well, as you'll see today, this is actually a pretty perfect analogy for how we sometimes try to relate to God. We try to buy this totally priceless, perfect standing with Him using just our own good deeds. And honestly, compared to His perfection, our good deeds are basically just those 3 pennies.
Which brings us to part 1 of our lesson, the impossible standard.
You know, before we can really appreciate a rescue mission, we have to understand the actual danger we're in. The hard, honest truth of our spiritual situation is found right here in Romans chapter 3. It says, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Let's look at that first word for a second. All. It doesn't say some people or just really bad criminals. No, it says all. You, me, your parents, your pastor, your favorite celebrity. Every single one of us has sinned. Fun fact, the word sin in the original language, it actually comes from an old archery term that simply means to miss the mark. So imagine an archery target where the absolute center bullseye is God's perfect glory and holiness. Every single one of us has drawn back our bow, let the arrow fly, and completely missed the target. Because of this, absolutely no one can be made right with God just by relying on their own goodness. You can't just try really, really hard to be a good person or try to follow all the rules perfectly and actually expect to hit that bullseye. Our standard is flawed. We fall short. Now, if the lesson stopped right here, it'd be pretty depressing, wouldn't it? But thankfully, it definitely doesn't. And that leads us to part 2. The gift of righteousness. Okay, here is where we see a massive shift in tone. God steps right in with this incredible divine solution to our impossible problem. It's the difference between being earned by works versus being received by faith. When we talk about God revealing a righteousness that's apart from the law, this is exactly what it means. Salvation is absolutely not something we can earn through our actions. We can't work our way to heaven. I mean, we can't do enough chores, help enough old ladies across the street, or read enough books to cross that impossible gap. That would be earned by works, and we already established we just don't have the currency to pay that bill. Instead, God gives righteousness, which, remember, means being perfectly right with Him, as a gift by His grace. It's received by faith in Jesus Christ. Think about it. You don't earn a gift, right? You just open your hands and accept it. If you have to pay for it, or if you have to work for it, it literally stops being a gift and just becomes a wage. God's salvation is a pure, completely unearned gift given to all who simply believe in Jesus. Moving into part 3. What is justification? So let's zoom in on a really crucial theological word here, because this word changes everything about how God sees us. Here's the definition you really need to lock into your mind right now. Justified means being declared righteous before God. Okay, I want you to picture a courtroom. You're sitting right there at the defendant's table, and the evidence against you, it is massive. You've broken the rules, you've completely missed the mark, and the judge, who is God, is perfectly fair and he has to punish wrongdoing. But then, Jesus Christ, who lived a completely perfect life, steps in. He takes the exact punishment you deserved right there on the cross. Because of Jesus, the judge bangs his gavel, looks right at you, and declares, righteous, innocent, perfect. Wow. That is justification. Through Jesus Christ, sinners are justified. God looks at you and treats you as if you had never sinned at all, and as if you had lived the totally perfect life that Jesus lived. It's just an astonishing declaration of your brand new status. Let's pause for part 4, memory verse and reflection. You know, it's not enough to just hear these words. We really need to let them sink in. Just listen to the sheer power in this verse from Romans 3:24. being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. Look at that word freely. It costs you absolutely nothing because Jesus already paid for it all. And grace, that means unmerited favor, basically getting something unbelievably wonderful that you absolutely positively did not deserve. And then there's redemption. That's a word that actually means buying something back. We were completely trapped in our own shortcomings, and Jesus bought our freedom. This entire rescue mission, completely unearned by us. It was all him, all grace. Okay, let's do a quick mental review just to make sure you've got this locked down. First up, how does righteousness come? Well, if you're thinking it comes as a gift by faith in Jesus, not by works, then you hit the nail on the head. You are exactly right. Second, why do all people need it? We need it because we all fall short. None of us can actually make it on our own. And third, what does justified mean? Remember that courtroom. It means being declared completely righteous before God because of what Jesus did for us. To really cement this in your mind, I've got a quick activity for you. I want you to grab a piece of paper and just draw a beautifully wrapped gift. Put a big, giant bow on it and label it God's grace. And as you draw it, I want you to visualize that God's grace is literally a present being handed right to you. You don't have to assemble it. You definitely don't have to buy it. You just have to accept it. Now, if you prefer writing, that's totally fine too. Just write down one really powerful sentence about why you're so thankful that salvation is a gift from God and not some impossible test you have to pass. Take your time with this later today, okay? It's a really great way to talk to God and just say, thank you. All right, on to our final section, part 5, the godly learner. As we wrap this explainer up, I really want to connect this incredible theological truth directly to what you're doing every single day in your academics. This actually aligns perfectly with the core philosophy we believe in so deeply here at HeroesMart Academy. Education plus biblical morality equals wise, God-honoring choices. You see, we intertwine biblical morality directly with your education because, truthfully, education without morality, it can actually hurt. Just think about it for a second. A really smart person without a moral compass can use their intelligence to do a whole lot of damage in the world. Knowledge and intelligence alone shouldn't just make you more capable of doing things. They should actually equip you to make wise, righteous, God-honoring choices in your life. By understanding God's grace and his standard, you're building this unshakable moral foundation that's going to guide your intelligence for the rest of your life. And this whole idea is just beautifully summarized over in Romans 8, 6-7. It teaches us that keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. So as you dive into your math homework, your science projects, or, those history essays today, I really want to encourage you to relentlessly pursue academic excellence. Work hard, but as you do it, keep your mind centered entirely on God, on truth, on wisdom, and on making righteous choices. When your incredible 8th grade brain is totally focused on God's truth, the result is always life and peace. So I'm going to leave you with this final, incredibly important question to ask yourself as you go about your day. Will you rely on your own strength today, just trying to be perfect and earn your way, or will you accept the free gift of God's grace? Whether you're dealing with a really tough assignment, maybe a conflict with a friend, or honestly just feeling like you aren't good enough, I want you to remember Romans 3. You don't have to be perfect. Jesus was perfect for you. So actively lean on his grace today. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Have a fantastic, totally grace-filled rest of your day, and I will see you in the next lesson.